Entrepreneur and business guru Rachel Elnaugh is well known for being the founder of Red Letter Days and for being one of the original dragons on the long-running BBC show Dragon's Den. bizview.tv were lucky enough to interview her recently, so we started by asking if the recession was discouraging for new entrepreneurs.
I still think the entrepreneurial dream is still living large, and in fact even more so actually at the moment, because so many people now are taking the initiative to go into business. And so rather than people, for example, seeing being made redundant as an ending, they're actually seeing it as a huge opportunity to go out and maybe start their own business and make something of their lives. So I think actually there's huge amounts going on out there, and there's massive amounts of support now for people who want to go into business. So actually this is a brilliant time, and there's so much government funding out there. So I would say to people who are thinking about going into business, you know, there's never a good time. So just, if you want to do it, just do it and start and just make stuff happen.
Do you think anybody can be an entrepreneur? I mean, can you learn to be an entrepreneur, or are you born to be one?
I actually think that entrepreneurship is much more about mindset than it is about training or education or upbringing. And I think it's about three things: self-belief, determination and drive. And I think if you've got those three qualities, then actually you can achieve anything. So really, to me, it's much more about mindset than it is about anything else, and mindset can be changed.
Now, I know that in your career you've had incredible highs and you've had lows as well. You've had problems, disasters perhaps even. How do you get through those periods? How do you know, because it's easy when things are going well, but how do you cope when things are going badly? Because I think most people who perhaps are thinking about starting a business, or perhaps they've done one and it's failed and they're thinking perhaps they want to do it again, you know, how do you fight back when things are going badly?
Well, I think the first thing I need to do is sort of shatter this myth that entrepreneurship is sort of sailing from nothing to this wonderful trajectory of being successful. And that's how quite often most entrepreneurial stories are portrayed, but what they don't tell you is that it was a roller coaster ride. And I really do believe that, and every entrepreneur I've spoken to behind the scenes has been dealing with absolute highs and absolute lows. So really, I would say to people who are in business, you know, it is a roller coaster ride, you know, and it's never just plain sailing from nothing, rags to riches success. And I think when you understand that, when you hit the low points, you realise that everyone experiences them, and it's just a case, and they're just a challenge to really see whether you can get through them. So, I mean, yes, I've had tremendous lows, but they've always led to something much better beyond it. So I think you just have to roll with it and accept that's part of the ride.
If somebody was watching this and they're thinking, well, I've got a good idea, but I want to turn it into a good business. How do you do that? Because, I mean, we hear this a lot about, you know, it's all very well having the good idea, but you've got to have the business sense as well. You've got to have the backing and so on. What would be your advice to someone who thinks, you know, they've thought up this great idea in the pub or whatever, and they want to take it to that next level? I mean, is it best for most of us to just leave that alone, or should we pursue it?
Well, I would say that business is probably 1% about the idea and 99% about the implementation, the actually making it happen, which is why you do get so many people saying, oh, I had that idea 10 years ago. Well, the question is, why didn't you do anything about it? So I think when you understand that, I think it's the actual moving to action and making things happen. And what I would say to people is, start small and test and trial and adapt, because so many people have this great idea, maybe they've got an invention, and they go to China and get 10,000 things manufactured and shipped into their garage and then have trouble shifting them. Far better to get a few prototypes made and go and basically see if you can get deals, see if people will buy them, do focus groups, see if people like them or not. So start small and adapt and adjust and hone it until you get to something that really, really works.
I've got to ask you, as we've got you here on the sofa, is Dragon's Den a realistic way of raising money for your business idea?
Well, Dragon's Den was an interesting experience for me because I'd never done angel investment before, and it wasn't till after we'd seen the first series come live on the television we realised how heavily edited it was. And I spend a lot of my time now in the small business sector, and really understand that we should be encouraging and supporting entrepreneurs on their journey. And I would say that there's so many fantastically supportive angel networks out there which are by far the better way to raise funding than to go through the sort of grilling of going on television. I'd say it's great if you want some free publicity for your business idea or product, but not such a great thing if you want serious funding. I think there's much more positive, supportive sources available out there, particularly at the moment.
One of the things that those of us that have attempted small businesses and startups and that sort of thing, is that you get a lot of setbacks. You get a lot of people rejections. Probably a better way of putting it. People reject your idea or they reject your service. And I know there's something about that on your website because I read it today. What's your advice to people about that, about how to deal with that rejection, which can seem to be there all the time at times for a small business?
Well, personally, I think managing your motivation through rejection is one of the most important lessons that you can learn. And I remember when I left school being rejected from every university I applied for, and then being rejected from every management training course, and I had sort of hundreds of these letters, and that was from people who bothered to reply. And I look back at that and realised that actually that was a great training in being an entrepreneur, because being able to just keep going in the face of people just saying no, not interested, sorry, and that's if they even bother to reply. I think if you can just keep going and your success is not conditional on people supporting you, I think that if you've got that self-belief that you can keep going no matter what, that's a very valuable asset in business.